I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Sajjan Jindal, the titan of the Indian steel industry. He's, of course, has the largest capacity by some length in Jindal Steel, and he's helming a complex transition into renewables energy, into paint, and what is, I believe, is his latest passion, which is, of course, the automobile industry. Mr. Jindal, welcome to Moneycontrol.
Pleasure.
So let me start off with, there's a lot of talk about capex, Indian private sector capex. Now, when it comes to you, there seems to be capex and then some. You've $70 billion of capex you've talked about. So can you break that up into the different sectors? We'll come to them.
No, Bodhi, first of all, thank you very much for having me today. So when we talk about capex, fortunately or unfortunately, the industry that we are in are all very capital intensive.
Right.
Whether we talk about steel, cement, renewable energy, or even thermal energy. So all these businesses are very capital intensive. The ones which are not capital intensive are paint and auto. They are not capital intensive as much. So we are married to an industry which needs a lot of money.
Right. So so of the 70 billion, which is the biggest amount of capital spending which go into which area?
As we speak,
is that the Jindal Steel expansion plans?
As we speak, JSW Steel is the largest industry steel industry. JSW Steel is the largest where we consume maximum capital every year, close to 25,000 crore rupees. But now there is a huge push towards renewable energy as well as thermal energy.
Right.
So going forward, I feel that would call for more capital than steel.
Right.
Renewable energy.
Just to stick to steel for just a moment, so you are at 29 million tons right now, and you've announced plans to go up to 37 and then to 50 million tons over 6 years. So is there enough of a demand that you see for that happening? What is the source of funding for this?
So we were 29 million tons till last year. We just commissioned our incremental 6 million ton capacity. So now we are 35 million. And by the end of this decade, our stated goal is to be 50 million tons. So I think that's all completely lined up. As far as demand is concerned, last 2 years, Indian steel industry has seen a demand increase, or last 2.5 years, including this year, demand increase of about in excess of 10%, 12 to 14% every year on year, which is a huge demand increase. So in fact, even if whatever the entire industry is setting up capacity, even if you take all of them, even then we will still remain probably short of demand, and therefore there would be some imports that would be needed.
So imports is obviously a trigger to get into one area where you've spoken in public also, which is about imports of Chinese steel, particularly through the FTA route with some countries with which India has FTAs. What are your views? Has you've been obviously making representation? You've been very vocal about it also, for example, at a recent CNBC event. What have you heard back from the government?
So no, government is very they understand this, that there is a problem. They want a solution.
Right.
Because they problem is that China has so much overcapacity in steel. Nearly 100% of their requirement is overcapacity. So they are the largest exporter. I mean, the amount of steel that India produces as a second largest producer in the world, that much steel China is exporting.
Right.
So China can, on variable cost basis, they can kill anybody, any industry in the world. So what the world is doing to counter that, they are putting huge heavy tariffs on Chinese steel, whether it is United States or Europe or Turkey or any other part of the world. They are putting heavy tariffs on Chinese steel. India is, as I said, is the second largest producer and consumer of steel in the world, is a natural market for Chinese steel. Now, because there is some tariff on China, and Chinese steel is not coming directly into India, but what is happening is that Chinese steel is getting exported to Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, with whom we have FTAs.
FTAs, yeah.
And so the Japanese or the, let's say, the Thai companies or Indonesian companies, they are consuming the Chinese steel for their domestic market, and from their own steel plants they are exporting that steel to India at zero duty. So in other words, the Chinese steel is getting circumvented through these countries and coming into India under the FTA. Now we have represented it to the government. Government is looking at it, but they haven't decided as yet.
So let me ask you a general question. I think President Trump has already made it clear that tariff will be his main weapon to protect, to reshore manufacturing in the US. He's talked about imposing tariffs on Mexico, on Canada, and certainly on China, perhaps a higher level of tariffs. How does that impact a company like yours at a kind of global level?
So JSW Steel is not exporting any steel to United States.
Right. You have a plant in the US, right?
We have a plant in US, so we manufacture in US and we sell in the US market.
Right.
But from Indian plants, we are not. We used to export a lot, but then in the first term of Trump, he had levied 25% import tariff on any steel coming from outside the United States to protect their steel industry.
That's right, yeah.
And after that, we couldn't export, so we are not exporting to the US. But what Trump is doing, and in a way I agree with Trump, US is a very high cost economy, right?
That's right.
So their cost of productions are very high. So they understand that if we make it zero tariff,
They won't be able to compete.
they won't be able to compete, and the industry in the US will shut down, right? Steel industry in the US is shut down. And US industry, if you go there, they are like archaic steel industry, very old, not at all efficient and all. But now when they are earning money, they are modernizing, they are building new steel plants, and
Right.
so they will revive their industry.
How is your steel business in the US doing? Is it profitable?
Yeah, it's profitable. It's profitable.
And do you plan to invest more there?
No, because we are so focused on India
On
now.
India, yeah.
We would, invest in India, not anywhere else.
Right. Let me shift to automobiles, where I think most of the recent reporting or speculation on the Jindal Group has been. So where do we stand in terms of the, let me first come back to, your name has been linked to Volkswagen. Is there anything that is happening there with Volkswagen?
No, we've had discussions with Volkswagen about a year ago, 6-8 months ago, but that discussion didn't go forward, so we have dropped that project with them.
Are you, I'm just asking you a question, you could, I don't know whether it's premature. Is there something which you are trying with Ford?
No. We were planning to acquire their plant in Chennai.
That's right, yeah. Which they are now reopening.
Which then they decided that we would rather reopen it, manufacture cars in that plant and re-export to the developing world. So that's why they then decided not to.
Right. Okay. So where is in terms of the JV with MG Motors, where do we stand now? I mean, this is your, how much are you looking to invest over the next 5? And this is a big diversification, which is somewhat, because your other diversifications are in energy, infrastructure, which are somewhat related businesses, right? But this is a completely new area. So talk us through that. Is it going to be primarily EVs or some fossil fuel cars will also be there, petrol, diesel?
So it's actually purely driven by passion.
Okay.
So the building the car was always a childhood dream for me, and I always wanted to get into building cars. But then, I was so busy building other industries, I never got the time or the inclination to really go to my pet project. Finally, when I saw that the technology is changing in the auto industry and the new EVs are coming in or new energy vehicles are coming in, so I felt that it's a good time to enter this field. And I also saw that the Indian industry, auto industry, is not changing that quickly as one would expect. So therefore I said that okay, let me try my hand at it, and let's work on it. And then this opportunity of investing in MG Motors came in, and I gladly accepted that and invested there, and I'm very happy we did that. And so now this through the MG route we are doing this new energy vehicles. There are few cars which are going to be maybe ICE engine, but majority of the cars would be new energy vehicles. Besides this, we are also working to build a JSW car, which would be not the MG project, but that would be a independent JSW.
So that's housed in a separate company?
That will be a separate company.
Called JSW?
JSW Auto.
Okay. What kind of a car is that?
That will be all new energy cars and state of the art, very high technology, and yeah, I'm very excited about that. It will take 2 years to come, but it will be a very exciting project.
So, just coming back to the Chinese joint venture, so your joint venture partner is a Chinese company, so they have obviously post Galwan, there have been, there are issues between India and China, which are there. Now, that company it has still a large stake. I mean, it's you, obviously MG Motors and your private equity partner, right? Your plan is to increase your stake up to 51%, right?
So the idea is that eventually Shanghai Auto, which is today 49%, would come down to 35%.
That's right. Yeah.
And the Indian investors altogether would be 65%.
Right.
That is the idea.
Right.
Out of that now, whether we will hold also 35 or 40, that we haven't decided. But idea is that it will be an Indian company with SAIC holding 35%.
Right.
And that would be good for India. Why we need Chinese is that though we have issues with China, as you said, border disputes are there, but fortunately, unfortunately, the technology resides with the Chinese.
Yeah.
They are 20 years ahead of the curve, and their cost structure, their technology, their ecosystem is absolutely phenomenal. Even the European auto companies are all going to China to get the technology and making joint ventures with the Chinese companies. So earlier Chinese companies made joint ventures with Europeans and built plants, auto plants in China, whether it was VW, Audi, GM or Renault, everybody built plants in China as a JV with the Chinese companies. Now it's becoming the reverse. Now these companies are making joint ventures in Europe with the Chinese companies.
Right. But I wanted to just focus on the technology. So SAIC is the main supplier of technology for the project. It is the supplier of technology
for MG,
for MG Motor. So what is the how comfortable is that relationship? Because one has also read that the Chinese government is not so keen that Chinese companies should supply technology to Indian joint ventures. How comfortable, or to put it another way, how long term or sustainable is that relationship?
So that is true. I am also hearing this, that Chinese government is putting sort of restrictions on not only in auto industry but across
other industries,
the industries, to try and restrict sharing the technology with India, USA, with many countries. But when it comes to MG Motors, we are not seeing any such indication or any such actions that is being taken where they are restricting supply of technology or anything of that sort. So how long this relationship will last is difficult to say.
Yeah.
But I think it should last, because we are not a group which is overbearing group.
Right.
What we understand, that we like to control. What we don't understand, we allow the partners to function. Right. So we are very flexible as a group, and we focus on our industries, which is steel and energy. There we don't want any partners to play any role. We play the role. But in auto, as long as we are learning, we would learn. Once we learn, then we will tell the partners that now we want to run the business.
Right. So in fact, Volkswagen was in that context, I mean, in the sense that you might look for a second supplier of technology, right? I mean, that I think would have been the underlying logic, although you may not have, right? But that possibility still remains open of going in with another partner at some stage.
No, that absolutely. I mean, that option is open.
Right.
My idea is to be very aggressive in the auto industry. I want to change the landscape of Indian auto industry. Whether that happens or not, time will tell. But my belief is that today, if you see between Maruti, Hyundai, and Kia, majority of the production is between these three companies.
That's right.
Maybe 65–70% is controlled by these three companies, and I would want that Indian companies must take leadership role in this. Maruti is Indian company, but basically Suzuki.
Suzuki, and now increasingly Toyota.
And increasingly Toyota. So my thought is, maybe I'm not
nationalistic.
Yeah, I am of course nationalistic. So therefore, I want Indian groups to lead this industry. Like China, also there was a time when European companies were leading the auto industry in China. But then Chinese now, if you see, Chinese companies have completely overtaken, and all the foreign companies are sort of leaving China.
So tell us about how will you change the landscape of the Indian automobile industry? What's the big plan?
By producing very high quality cars, by creating large capacities, very affordable cars for the Indian market, Indian consumers, and high quality at the affordable price and large capacity. That way I feel that we can change the landscape.
Okay. And these would be predominantly EVs?
Predominantly EVs and new EVs, new energy EVs. Could be PHEV like plug-in hybrid, or range extender, or hybrid. But hybrid is not new, energy, but even including that.
And tell us a little more about the newly incorporated company. What will you, is the technology there, will you source it from somebody, will you tie up with somebody else, will you look for a joint venture partner?
So as I said, the new energy vehicle technology is primarily rests with the Chinese. They have really invested, and even Europeans are going to China to get that technology. So most likely that technology will come from China. And then we are setting up our own R&D center, our own design center. So over time we will indigenize it, we will localize it, the technology.
But from the same partner, SAIC, or from a different partner?
No, from different partners. So China is, a number of companies are there.
Right.
Because we don't want to confuse, now MG India, JSW MG India is a separate entity, and SAIC is our partner there. So that business will continue to grow. While that is growing, we are building this separate business, separate independent company, which will compete. Even if they compete, it doesn't matter.
So any projections you want to make for JSW MG India? I mean, in terms of market share, in terms of annual sales, are you looking at the fourth position, third position? You're looking for number one, obviously, but you're used to being number one.
At the moment, because it's too early for us to comment. I mean, it's not very easy industry. It's a tough one, because there are established players who have been there for a long time. I would say MG has done a fair bit of good work, that they have created their image, and they've launched some good products. So I would say between 5 and 7%, if MG could capture the market share, that would be a satisfying level in the next 3 years. That would be a good level.
Have you heard anything about Tesla coming into India, or those seem to be on hold right now?
I'm not sure, because even Government of India had laid a red carpet for Tesla, and they tweaked their policies to attract Tesla into India, including their imported cars, fully built cars. They were permitted to bring in, but Tesla has not shown much interest. I think Elon Musk is busy with so many things happening in his life, right? Especially the space, and now Trump. So I think he's gotten too busy to look at India. India seems very distant country from US, and also right now very small. And when you do numbers, then you don't make money in India.
Right.
Yeah, especially for a company from America or something like that.
Right.
India is a very low price market, very competitive market. Tesla can't succeed here, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, Elon may not agree with my argument, but that's a fact. He won't make it.
Have you met him?
No, I've never met him.
You've never met him.
I would soon,
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, certainly.
He
I think people will
looks to be interesting guy.
He's a very interesting guy.
Yeah, very
yeah,
interesting.
to-
What he's done with this space,
The space
shuttle
is remarkable.
is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. I always
Right,
thought that
right.
he was little crazily genius, but he's actually
No.
geniusly crazy.
Yeah, he's a genius and he's crazy. I
Yeah.
think that is perhaps the best way of putting
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other industries. In terms of renewables, would that be a growth area for the JSW Energy in the future? What?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I always believed that when the renewable becomes economically competitive, only then it will really see the growth in this country.
Right.
Because you can't, if your thermal power is at 4 rupees and renewable was 15 rupees at one time, we never invested. When it came down to 7 rupees, we didn't invest. When it came down to 4 rupees, we didn't invest in that part, in the renewable business. Now that when it is 2.5, 3 rupees, we are investing. Because I believe very strongly that once you are economically viable and you are also green, then why not? Then that should be the way the country should be setting up. And there are so much dry land in India, in Rajasthan, in Gujarat, in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, parts of Maharashtra,
Right.
which are really suitable for setting up the solar and wind.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What about green hydrogen? Is that also a growth area? I mean, do you see?
I think the green hydrogen has a big future, but whether today is the right time, as I said, 15 rupees we didn't invest.
Right, right.
So today at $4 green hydrogen, we are not investing. We are setting up a one small 25 megawatt experimental plant,
Right.
which we want to just see how it goes. Perhaps that's the largest plant in India, 25 megawatt green hydrogen plant, probably is the largest. But for us, it's an experimental plant, and we want to see it perform, and then we will see whether we can reduce the cost. Because hydrogen, once it comes below $2, only then there will be some sort of semblance of investment.
Right. In terms of your new steel capacity which you're going to add, will you be using hydrogen to fire any of them, or will they be conventional?
No,
steel?
so we have identified, we are going to set up one 10 million ton steel plant,
Right.
which would be a subsidiary of JSW Steel,
JSW, yeah.
where we will have some other investors as well. And that plant will basically feed into the Western world, right? That may not be meant for India, because Indian companies may not pay premium for green steel. So this is going to be a green steel, and perhaps would be world's largest green steel plant.
Right,
That's the ambition, that's the plan. And but in the first stage, we will operate it on natural gas. So today the CO2 emission for a conventional steel plant in the JSW fold is about 2 tons per ton of CO2 emission per ton of steel, crude steel. We want to bring this down through a green steel plant. First, our target is to bring it down to 0.6. So this 2 tons, we want to bring it to 1.8, and the green steel will be 0.6.
Right.
CO2 tons of CO2 per ton of crude steel. Later on, we will go on injecting hydrogen, and this 0.6 will come down to probably 0.5, 4, 3, like that. So depending on the demand in the world market, we will reduce it.
Right.
Because when we inject hydrogen, it will become more expensive.
Yeah.
If the world is prepared to pay more expensive for green steel, we will make it more then.
But this is largely export oriented. In fact, it will become
Largely export oriented. But I believe even Indian industry, auto industry probably will accept it. But we have to see whether
you may have a problem exporting to the US, at least in the next 4 years.
Yeah, US will be difficult, but Europe.
Europe.
Yeah.
If we can come to the paint industry, which is a sort of an old economy diversification. So why did you get into paint? I mean, in fact, what is the attraction there, and how has it been doing so far?
So paint is basically a marketing. We as a group, we are in B2B business. Steel, energy, they are all infrastructure. They are all B2B. So we also wanted to
automobiles is the big diversification.
Will be, but paint came before automobile. Right?
Paint came before.
So so the paint was our first foray into the the consumer market, B2C, and we wanted to check it out. How will that work, and how will that? And it's a low cap business, so we thought that let's take a plunge in that and try it out. It's doing actually quite well.
Okay.
We have quickly moved to, I don't know, 2,500 crore kind of top line, which is not so bad, and our goal is to get to 5,000 crore of revenue in next 2 or 3 years. So I think it's not so bad, but it's a tough one. You know, consumer getting into consumer business is, unlike steel, is more difficult.
Right. I wanted to, I think we're running out of time, so let me put in some questions on your other passion, which is sports. And so obviously you started with football. Of course, many of the Olympians, I think Neeraj Chopra is perhaps your greatest investment, highest return on investment. What are the future plans for sports? Because actually, I know you and other Indian corporate groups have been making big investments in sport. One could argue that, let's say, in the last Olympics, the results were not so great, but it's something which you're still going to stick to, right? I mean, it's something which is a...
No, I think sports first is passion.
Of course, there's the IPL team also. Where
IPL, yeah, Delhi.
IPL,
yeah.
Delhi.
So, but besides that, it's very important that as a country, as we develop, our sports must start to you know, we should not be only a cricketing country.
Right.
We should play cricket, football, hockey, kabaddi,
We've
and
been
Olympic
trying,
sport.
We've been trying to diversify forever. It's a failed diversification so far.
Which one? The sports?
So, I mean, getting into other areas. So, anyway, but please continue.
No, but sports is an amazing area. You know, it binds everybody together, the whole country together. So it's amazing. And Olympic sport in special is very special. So when you see our Indian flag rising and at the podium, it's absolutely just fantastic. So as a group, we were one of the first few groups who took up sports, especially Olympic sport, and we have this fantastic high performance center in Karnataka, and now we have a number of centers, 7 centers across India, in Hisar, in Himachal, in Manipur, and other parts of Odisha. So where different types of sports are being adopted and people are being trained. We have foreign coaches. So it's actually quite interesting, and it's a good one. So I think we will start seeing the results even in this Olympics. Like you commented, even we were very disappointed. We were all there, and we were very disappointed that we didn't do that well. But if you see, there are, I think, 7 or 8 of our athletes who were number 4.
That's right. Yeah,
we were like missing. Earlier there was only PT Usha who came 4th,
right?
And I think Milkha Singh came 4th, and they became hero in India,
that's
right?
That's right.
Olympic obviously is very, very tough. So, but this time we had 7 or 8 who came 4th. So hopefully next time they will be
4th should become 4th should become.
So I think it's very important that India. And good news is that many corporates are now adopting sports, and so that's an amazing thing. So why America does so many medals? Because in their schools and colleges they have huge emphasis on sports, and that's their breeding ground for sports. Whereas in India, our colleges we don't have sports.
No, absolutely.
So therefore now corporates must play the role. Today, till now, government was playing a role, or railways and army, they were playing the role. But I think if the corporates really pick up the role, we have so many corporates, large corporates, it can really change the game.
Yeah, I don't know whether you've been following, there's a sudden upsurge of interest in chess because of the World Chess Championship which is going on.
Yeah.
A huge upsurge of interest in chess. So that's a good thing.
But, that's amazing. Yeah.
India, actually apart from cricket, chess is one area where we are
we really excel.
We really excel.
But even hockey we used to excel, and now we've come back.
We have come back.
We have come back in hockey, and it's really an amazing sport. I'm very, very passionate about hockey. So football, unfortunately, we are not... there are pockets where football is like Bengal, Kerala,
Punjab,
Goa, Bangalore. So these places football is still popular, but otherwise football somehow, Indian football, because other than Sunil Chhetri, we don't have any other real hero.
That's right.
Which we have, even international there is none.
So since Moneycontrol is markets ka dharkan, I need to ask you a couple of market related questions. So When is the JSW Cement IPO? What is the timeline for it?
So I think sometime in year 25, calendar year 25, we should be launching it. So yeah.
And in terms of your, in terms of market cap, how much does obviously JSW Steel is about 2,15,000 crores if I'm not mistaken, and then there are the two other listed companies, infrastructure
Energy and infra.
energy, right, which are this thing. Is there a market cap valuation target that you have in mind? I mean, everyone wants the valuation to go up, obviously, double, treble, 5 times. But is that something which you have in mind? I'm not even asking you about automobiles, but
no, I think my view. See, I'm a big believer that you have to run the business well. You have to run it honestly, and once the business runs well, then whether the market cap or any other parameters are all byproduct. Those are all a byproduct of your performance. So I never hazard a guess on the market cap because it's a byproduct. So we have to run the business well.
Okay. Couple of closing questions. One is that JSW Steel recently, in fact, was kind of replaced by Zomato. In the sense, is that something you pay attention to?
No, in fact, I forgot about it, but I've never. I mean, I saw this. I read it in the newspapers, and then I did give a call to our CFO. That what happened, and they said that there is not enough trading. I think so therefore they are taking it out of the Sensex. But that's beyond my control.
Yeah, it's a process. I mean, I guess it's a process. I just wanted to ask you in terms of your brothers are also in similar business. I mean, Naveen also obviously runs very large and profitable. JSPL has also done very well, and so do other members of your family. You've been working independently, I mean, separately for a very long. How does the relationship work? I mean, it's purely. I mean, you compete in the marketplace, but obviously you are your brothers. I mean, how does that work? I mean, is that
no? So we have a very interesting concept, which my father, realizing that we are Haryanvis and we are aggressive people, so he decided that we should have independence, and we should not sit on each other's boards or. And we should be free, we should compete with each other, but as brothers on the dining table, we should be, very easy with each other. I mean, we should be brothers. So, and that's what actually happened, and we achieved that, which is hats off to my dad. His vision was absolutely amazing. So we compete. Me and Naveen, we compete. Ratan is in stainless and my older brother is in all the pipes business. Right. So those two businesses are not competing, but we have not set up stainless steel because we don't think that we can be as good as Ratan in stainless. So therefore we didn't enter. Not that there is
there's no agreement or anything like that.
No, there is no such agreement and no embargo. But between Naveen and JSPL and JSW, we compete in many markets. But the idea is that if JSW can compete with Tata Steel, then why we can't compete with JSPL? So, and vice versa, JSPL. So why should we restrict each other?
Right.
And third party will benefit. So let us compete also, and let us beat the third party. Rather than So that's the thought process.
One last, you are also going into online, right, with Jindal One, which is
so
right now that's a captive. I mean, you're selling the Jindal Group, JSW Group products, right? But
majorly JSW Group products. But we are trying to on JSW One is the e-commerce platform. And the idea is to reach the MSMEs and through a transparent platform.
Right.
And but this JSW One is now being expanded.
Right.
We started with the group, majorly group company products, but now we are taking over many other products to be marketed.
Right.
Chemicals and other products where we are not present.
Mr. Jindal, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.